Hi everyone, it's Kristen. So in Dazzler, there's that big star, big Hollywood star, singer, actor, Roman something, and I can't figure out who he is, like who he's based on, because I'm thinking he's based on a real person, real character, but I don't know like who he's supposed to be. An actor, singer who's past his prime a little bit, still famous, but not as famous, not selling like his movies albums aren't selling as well as they used to, that sort of thing. Well, um, for this issue, you will have no problem figuring out who they base this character on, because, yeah, exactly. So, Michael Jackson's Thriller came out in December of 1983, and this comic book is August of 84. And it was, like 13 minutes long, and it was this huge hit. I mean, it's so iconic even to this day. Like everyone knows the Thriller dance, everyone knows who Michael Jackson is. Odds are you've seen, if not the whole music video, at least part of it. Anyway, I had totally forgotten about this issue. Such a blatant, like, nod to him. So, first page, and I totally relate to Dazzler here. So they're watching a scary movie, and Dazzler's like, nope, nope, not doing this. And she gets up and she leaves. She's like, I hate to waste $5, which $5 for a movie ticket seems like a lot back then, considering the last time I went to the movies and it was, like the matinee was like $8 and a regular, going at night price is $11. So for a movie in 1984 to the ticket price to only be double today, that seems pretty reasonable to me. So anyway, like I said, $5 for a movie back then seems like a whole lot. So she leaves, and this is Janet, the friend she was having coffee with in the last issue, and she's like, "I'm sorry, Janet, I just couldn't take it." And if you look here, it says, I don't know what the movie is because it's cut off, but it says starring Vincent Price. Okay, so Vincent Price, I mean, I don't watch a lot of horror movies because I do not like horror movies because I agree with Dazzler. They scare me. I don't want to watch them because they give me nightmares. And I remember all my dreams slash nightmares. Like, yeah, so no, I don't want to do that. I mean, people say this is impossible, but I've actually died in my dreams. And it's weird to like float over your body or see your body, like standing next to your body, and you're on the slab in the morgue where you're just laying there in the road and people are like shaking you, like, are you okay? What's going on? Anyway, like I've died in my dreams several times. I don't know. I feel like that's a thing. Maybe a lot of people do. I don't know. But I remember every single one of my dreams when I wake up. So, no, I don't really want to have scary dreams if I can help it. Because, what you think about, what you watch, especially late at night, influences that. So, anyway, but okay, Vincent Price. I don't watch a lot of scary movies, but I know he's like the king of scary movies. Like he was in, I think, The Fly and House of Haunted Hill and like House of Wax. Those are the only ones I really like know him for. And he was the voice in Thriller that, was narrating. That was him. So I think it's cool that they added that nod to him in here and actually put like his real name in here. I think that's really cool. And this is when he was still alive. I think he died in, I want to say 93. I mean, I think, well, I had like I can't remember honestly, but I feel like it was around that time. Like I had to look it up earlier because I totally did not remember because like I said, I don't watch a lot of his movies because they're scary. but and I think when I looked it up, it said 93. So this is definitely when he was still alive that they, paid honored him with that. I don't know if he even knew about this, that he knew that his name was, in lights in a comic book. I think that's pretty cool. Like I would love for that to, happen. Like your name get mentioned in a comic book. Okay, I mean, I guess not everyone is a comic book fan, but still, I think as a comic book fan, I think that would be really cool. So anyway, they go outside, and they're just super still creeped out by the movie, and they're not paying attention, and they almost get run over, and they part ways because, Janet lives this way, Dazzler lives this way, and Janet's like, "Are you gonna be okay?" And Dazzler's like, sure, yeah, I'll be fine." And she's just like hurrying to get into her house, and she's, paranoid and panicked, and then the phone rings unexpectedly, and that scares her. And so she answers it, and it's Roman. Like I said, I don't can't figure out who he's based on. I wish I could ask someone like that actually did this comic so I could know for sure because it's just bothering me that I can't figure it out. So he's like, "Hey, can you get dressed in 30 minutes? There's this huge Hollywood party I want to take you to. And there's going to be a lot of people there. You can make a lot of contacts. It'll be really good for your career." Because apparently Roman is kind of her manager now. And he's like dressed sexy. And so this is what she's wearing, which, like, I don't really like her hair like that, I will say. Her hair looks, it doesn't look as cute or as pretty as it normally does, but I mean, it's okay. So Roman, she tries to talk to people at the party, but he just pulls her away and is like, "No, don't talk to them." And she's like, "I don't understand. You had me come to this party to make contacts and talk to people, and yet you won't allow me to talk to anyone. That makes no sense." So, and then Robert Benson, who's a famous director, he shows up. Everyone calls him Bob. Um, Although not every Robert likes to be called Bob. My grandpa, his name was Robert, and he is Bob. He was Bob. My dad's name is Robert. He does not go by Bob, refuses. I have cousins, and they, instead of going by Bob, they go by Robbie instead of, their name being Robert. Like, we have a lot of Roberts in our family. Just worked out that way. Anyway, so I mean, I have uncles. I have like two uncles named Robert. Like I said, it just worked out that way. I'm not sure why. Anyway, so he comes in. He's a super famous director. He actually, um, did the movie that they were watching earlier. She and Janet were watching Bloody Mary. And he's like, "How did you like it?" And she's like, "Well, I kind of left before it was over because I was scared." And he said, "Oh, that's okay. I mean, not everyone likes scary movies." And he said, "I just wanted to tell you that I came over here because I like your look, and I'm working with Teddy Lingard, and I'm doing a music video for him and directing it, and I think you should be in the video." And she's like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome." So he's like, gives her his card and says, "Hey, call my girl and we'll set it up." And Roman's like, "You should stay away from him. He's bad news." Not just like with, actresses and you know, in that retrospect, but he's just bad news. Like a lot of things just seem to happen around him, like bad things. And she's like, "Oh, whatever. You're just, being paranoid." And all of a sudden there's this boom and the windows shatter. And you look at and see someone says very plainly, "That's Benson's car," which I'm not a car person, so I don't know what kind of car that is or was. I'm sure it was very expensive because like he's a big shot Hollywood director type person, so I'm sure he has an expensive car, I would assume. So Dazzler's like, "Oh my gosh, his car, I don't see him though." And she thinks she hears something. So she follows the sound, using her powers as her flashlight, and she finds Benson just laying there. And so she helps him get clear of the blast because the car blows up. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this." And he's like, "I'm okay. It was nothing. It's just, I'll get another car. I mean," and he's like, "I've grown accustomed to these weird things happening because they always seem to happen to me. I guess I must just be cursed or jinxed or something." And Roman's like, "Benson, let me take you to the hospital." And he says, "No, you can take me home though, but I don't want to go to the hospital." See here in this image panel, Roman looks really, like, he looks really young in that panel. There are other panels where he does not look very young at all, and I'll show you those. But anyway, so Allison's like, wow, he just, he seems so not at all concerned that his car just blew up and he got kind of thrown from the car, and he says he's perfectly okay, and just kind of like, that seems weird. And so she's reading about the accident in the paper, and she's like, I guess I'm glad my name's not mentioned. Of course, she's not really like super famous or anything. And there were tons of other celebrities, super famous people there, so her name really wouldn't be mentioned. So she takes a class, or she does her, her job, her class. And then she calls, Benson's person to set it up, and they say, okay, yeah, come by the studio and let's uh get you on the set. And so she's like, gets there, and he's like, oh great, you're here. And she's like, don't I have to audition or something? He's like, okay, sure, go ahead. And so she does a couple of dance steps, and he's like, okay, great, you're hired. And she's like, okay, well, that was weird. That was fast. And but I mean, he did come over to her and say he liked her look and wanted her to be in the video. So she's like, oh, okay. um, anyway, so she goes and gets in wardrobe and sits in the makeup chair for like 2 hours. And she looks at herself in the mirror and she scares herself because she's not used to seeing herself like this. She didn't know that that's what this kind of video was. So she's there with all the other like zombies, undead people, and she talks to a girl and she's like, "Yeah, Benson said he chose me because he liked my look." And she's like, "He said the same thing to me," which is like, ironic because they're wearing all this makeup to look undead slash ugly. So weird. Weird thing to say to people that, oh yeah, I like your look and I want you for this this shoot so that you can be an undead zombie. Anyway, so he goes through the choreography with them, the just the simple stuff, to get them kind of get their feet wet. And then the star of the video shows up, Teddy Lingard, and obviously, you know who he's based on already. I mean, obviously. And we have, Vincent Price, his name on the marquee as another clue. So he shows up, about 20 minutes after they've been rehearsing. Um, and he just, came to check in, start rehearsal and all this stuff. And they're like, okay, well, that's 15. We have to get everything ready for like the graveyard set. So we have to set that up. So everyone can take a 15-minute break. So Dazzler's like, where's the bathroom? So she goes, and there's Bob on the phone, and he's like, hurry. He's talking to the news crew, and he says, hurry, something terrible has happened over on the latest on the set of Teddy Lingard's latest music video. And Robert Benson is the director of the film. The whole everything's bad is happening to him. And he hangs up, doesn't give his name or anything, obviously, because I mean, you can tell where this is going. And Dazzler, he sees her, but he doesn't think that she heard him. So they get set up for the graveyard scene, and all the extras are going to be laying in the graves. They're going to be buried alive. and they're going to, push their way out of the grave and like slowly start crawling like towards towards the camera. And so Dazzler gets buried alive, which I would not want to get buried alive. That sounds terrible. I would definitely not want to do that. So, Teddy walks through the set and everyone, because they yell, action. So everyone pops out of the grave and starts crawling slowly, except for Allison. And they're like, okay, you missed your cue. Come on, come out of there. And all of a sudden, Bob starts to panic. And he's like, holy cow, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, oh my gosh, someone help her. And then he sees the news crew there and he's like, oh no, they're here. They can't be here. And so she kind of uses her powers to like burst out of the ground, just a hand first, all scary like. And she grabs Bob's ankle and she's like, Bob Benson, all creepy like, and he runs away. He's scared. And he's like, keep it away from me. And she's like, Bob Benson, you're to blame. And then she's like, I heard you on the phone, Benson. Well, you can read it. You're responsible for my death. You knew there wasn't any air because he remarked, oh my gosh, there's no air tube for, this girl. How could there not be an air tube? And she's like, you set up the whole thing. You even called the news crew. You're to blame. And he's like, all right, I admit it. Like I staged all these accidents, including blowing up my own car because I needed the publicity, even if it's bad publicity, any publicity. I just needed it to make sure my movie, did well. And so Allison takes off her makeup and she's like, I knew it. And he's like, what? You're not dead? And she's like, thanks to my she says, my expertise in aerobic breathing techniques, it was a snap to hold my breath for a couple minutes. Okay. Like I said, all these things are a stretch. Like, oh, I have really good eyesight. I eat a lot of carrots. Oh, I'm a aerobic instructor and I have mastered my breathing so I can hold my breath for like a really long time when really she had used her powers, her like lasers to poke little air holes in the ground so that she could still breathe. Anyway, and he's like, wait, you're not dead? And she's like, no. And he's like, and I just confessed on TV basically to committing all these crimes. And he tries to escape, and Teddy stops him. And Teddy's like, hey, it was good working with you. And yeah, he's she's like, I better call Roman and tell him I'm all right. And then Teddy's like, I got dibs on the phone next. I have to find a new director. And then he says, hey, he's thinking to himself, maybe the guy who directed An American Werewolf in London is free. That's the guy who directed the Thriller video. His name's John, I want to say Landis. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure his first name's John. But anyways, I just think that's really cool that they made all these references to Michael Jackson's Thriller. Like, I don't know if I would I would think that he would be flattered and wouldn't try to like hit them with a copyright or something like that. I didn't hear anything. Well, I mean, I wasn't around then, but like I didn't hear anything about that later that he was not happy about this. I'd be flattered. I think that's really cool. A whole comic book basically dedicated to Thriller and and just all the Easter eggs, the Vincent Price on the marquee, and then the name dropping of the director at the very end. Anyway, I thought this was a really fun issue, a little bit different, especially since it's so connected to the real world, modeled after the real world. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will join me for the next video. The next video it says, or the next issue it says, who's kidnapping the great models of LA? So I guess we'll see who's kidnapping all the models and what they're going to do with them. So until next time, bye.